just wherever you're comfortable, you know.
Pretty good. How's that?
I wonder if that's going to be loud enough. It should be, shouldn't it?
Let's close the door and
Yeah.
get the laughter from. There we go.
Cool.
So look, it's interesting because one of the things that I did, so I'm the youngest of three.
Yep. Am I in that? Yeah, I am.
Yep. So I'm the youngest of three. My dad was a chiropractor. My brother and sister both were in chiropractic school already. And then I thought, oh shit, am I just doing this because they're doing it? So I travelled. I came to Australia when I was 18. And I met a guy up in the Whitsundays, and he was the manager of the Contiki resort where I was working.
Yep.
And we got on really well. And he said to me, he says, look, don't look at a career and see what you can get out of it. He said, pick 3 or 4 things that are really important to you in your life, and then see what career will fill those 3 or 4 things.
Yep.
So for me, obviously, it was being self-employed, being able to help people, being able to travel, okay, were probably the 3 key things. Don't forget, I was only 18 at the time, okay. Why I say self-employed first is I went to a grammar school in England, which was really priming you to go into the Navy. And so they couldn't believe that I didn't want to become an officer in the Navy because it was a direct path. But I'm not good at taking orders.
No, you don't seem like the kind of guy, like you're very gentle, but...
Yeah. I want to be able to work things out for myself and make a decision based on that conclusion. So, and for me, obviously, and then he said, look, there's probably 3 or 4 careers that would give you those things, but then choose the one that makes most sense. And of course, chiropractic just ticks all the boxes.
That is so beautiful.
You know, so instead of looking at, because most kids they're trying to, you know, they get to grade 11 and 12 and they think, oh, what can I do? And they look at a career and say, oh, well, I could do that and this, and they're looking at the wrong way around.
Okay.
You know, and that's why they get to uni and then they drop out because they realise it's not for them.
So instead of what you're saying, instead of like going, what am I going to be? It's just these
What
factors
am I?
like you said, yeah.
What am I first? What
Wow.
ticks the boxes? What makes me, you know, I think I said to you last time, you know, I said to my girls, don't get a job,
No.
pick something that you love and then you never have to go to work. You know, and that's because it's something that you enjoy doing. And so for me, I mean, chiropractic is, you know, I'm 28 years in and I still don't get up and go to work.
And you get up every day, what, 6 o'clock, 6:30?
Oh yeah, about 5:30 normally. Yeah, so about 5:30, just get my head straight. And I like 5:30 because no one else is awake.
Yep.
That's my time.
It's fresh and it's your own space and...
Well, I've got 4 daughters and a wife.
I have
And, yeah.
Okay.
So that was my daughter. That was my 3rd eldest daughter.
Oh, so she works with you?
No, she's studying veterinary. She's just waiting for me to finish so I can go pick up a car for her.
Oh, okay. Yep. Awesome. Yep. Great.
So what do you want to know? What's the...
Well, you really, I suppose, you know, it was just really switching on the camera and I don't really want to interview you, but I think it's just like talking and getting this fascinating conversation that just comes from you naturally anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a big believer of starting something, knowing that it's already perfect, and then you end it. It's from beginning to end, it's perfect already without judgment. So,
Right.
you know, what you've said is really what I wanted anyway, which is
Sure.
a
So,
miracle, you know.
again, I think for me, like we were talking about last time, I realised very early in the piece. I mean,
Yeah.
it was kind of a shock, but I was quite fortunate that, you know, my world as a child revolved around our home because my dad worked in the home, and you know, so we were kind of at home with mum and dad, and we watched him work and everything else. And at that time, you know, I'd see people being brought into my dad who couldn't walk. They were being carried in on ironing boards. There was all kinds of different things, and he was always busy. And just, you know, the way patients spoke about him and everything else, you know, my dad, he was like this hero. And I just thought everyone came to see a chiropractor. I just thought that was completely normal, you know, because that's what I saw and witnessed every day.
Yep.
And then finally I went to what I call big school, you know, there, grade 1 and sitting down, and it didn't take too long before I realised that actually people thought my dad was a quack.
Yeah, I remember listening to you say that on the recording, yeah.
And that's like, what do you mean? You know, he's saving people. Everyone goes to a chiropractor, and I realised that no, they don't. But then you hear that the mainstream and what the mainstream think, and I realised quite early on that what the mainstream think and say isn't necessarily always the truth, or certainly wasn't my truth.
Yeah.
And so it led me to then question everything that I saw and so on. I mean, look at what's happened in the last 12 months. You know, the kids say to me, "Why do you listen to the news?" I say, "Because I'm listening for what they're not telling me.
Yeah.
I'm listening for what they're not saying, because that's really where the clues are.
Yeah.
Okay, what they're telling you and what they're talking about isn't necessarily so important to me.
No.
It's what they're not talking about, because it's not what they want you to be thinking of, and so on. So that's kind of the way I always live my life. And for me, chiropractic fills that level of curiosity and so on really, really well, because obviously our mainstream health system has nothing to do with health.
No.
It's sickness. Okay, when do people how many people go to their GP when they're feeling great?
They're just not going to.
They don't. They wait till they got a symptom that's so bad that they can't live with it, and then they go. And then generally what will happen is you'll get a script to try and suppress the symptoms. You're not, if someone has digestive issues, they'll give them things for the pain and so on. They're not actually finding out what the digestive issues are.
Yeah,
they're looking for a pathology. They're looking, you've got Crohn's. Okay, they don't then ask, well, why have you got Crohn's? And so it's a very sickness-based approach. And now they're concerned because the hospitals are full of sick people. Well, of course they are, because that's what we focus on, is sickness. Whereas with chiropractic, it's more of, well, how does the body function? And how can we help it improve that function? So from a chiropractic perspective, obviously it's all about the nervous system. Our biggest issue in Australia is the fact that a lot of people think they know what chiropractors do, even if they've never been. They think chiropractors crack backs.
Yeah.
They think chiropractors push bones back into place. And so that's a really good challenge when people come in, and pretty much every single new patient comes into the practice with that belief or understanding.
Yeah.
And so I shoot the elephant in the room. I say to them, so what do you think chiropractors do? And I say, well, that doesn't sound very fun, and yet you're still here. They got so desperate, they've tried the medications, they've tried, some people will have injections and surgery before they'll go to a chiropractor. There's that level of fear about going to a chiropractor. So if you can take someone from that position to all of a sudden understanding that, no, it's not about your bones, we're not pushing bones into place, we're releasing pressure on the nervous system so that your body can start the healing process. I'm not doing the magic, I'm just releasing the pressure. Your body's doing the magic as you release the nerves. You've still got to look at, they've still got to look at diet, they've still got to exercise, and they've still got to keep their headspace straight. But I can release pressure off the nervous system, and it's amazing the changes you see. And that's what keeps it exciting in practice, because you get someone who's never been adjusted before, and you start releasing the stress on their nervous system. The nervous system, even science today is only just starting to scratch away at the surface of what the nervous system is capable of. You watch that nervous system unfold, and that whole person, their life starts to change.
And that's from, is it a deeper level, like coming from, say, like, are you Christian, or like, do you have any backgrounds in that area?
Look, we are Christian, but we're not. I wouldn't say I'm a practicing Christian.
Okay.
Okay.
So, coming from a miracle in a Course in Miracles.
Right.
So starting from what I know about you is, I believe we're both in this. This is why we're talking, because we believe in treating the root cause from the place of the solution.
Right.
Where there never was a problem.
Yes.
Where mainstream media are trying to create a problem, which creates resistance, which is sorcery, because you're sourcing outside of yourself.
That's right.
For medication, and they're paying, and that's an attitude problem, because, if you're saying that the client's doing it for themselves, and you're guiding the client, you're releasing the nervous system, you're doing all these things, but at the base of this, I know that you come from the Holy Spirit, and in the Holy Spirit, there's no problem, there's no sickness.
Yeah, exactly.
And nothing can threaten the truth.
So in chiropractic, if you look at chiropractic philosophy, they talk about above down,
Yep.
inside out.
Okay.
So above being what we'd call universal intelligence.
Yep.
Okay, so universal intelligence, some people call it Mother Nature, some people call it God, whatever, and it's the intelligence that's governing everything.
Yep.
So, we talk about climate change, okay? I believe that, yes, the planet will survive. Whether we make it such a bad environment that humans can't survive, well, that's just universal intelligence taking care of itself. Then inside each of us, we have innate intelligence, which if we can connect universal intelligence and innate intelligence, then we're really connected. We're really in harmony.
Can you explain innate, the meaning of
So
that?
innate intelligence, so
Yep.
for instance, when a baby's born,
Yep.
okay, their ability to heal, their ability to learn,
Okay.
those are the things that you can't see. Even conception, okay, they know kind of what happens, but they don't necessarily know exactly how it happens. Okay, and so that innate intelligence of the body knows how to do. It's born with that intelligence on how to grow, how to thrive, how to survive, how to heal. Okay, so there's an innate intelligence in our body. The problem is we lose some of that innate intelligence when we have physical stress or trauma. So kids by the age of 5 have fallen 2,000 times on average. Okay, then we sit in front of
How many times?
2,000.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's the average. So most kids by the age of 5 have fallen 2,000 times. Then we sit in front of computers. Then we carry backpacks. We play contact sports. We do all those things. Chemical stresses. Well, they start from the beginning. Look at what they put in a lot of formula milk.
Which is rubbish.
Yeah. Well, you take milk from a cow, you pasteurize it, homogenize it, and then feed it to the calf. The calf won't survive. Okay, that's
crazy.
That's just milk on the shelf in the supermarket.
Oh, really?
Okay? Yeah. So that's what we're
wow.
doing to our food products, and they know this. The reason they pasteurize and homogenize it is because it lasts longer on the shelf, so they can store it and sell it more easily. Okay, they're not doing that for your health and well-being.
No.
Because if it was more healthy, the calf would survive.
Yeah.
The calf would thrive, but it doesn't. Then all the other foods and additives. So we've got physical stress, we've got chemical stress, emotional stress. I mean, look at our society at the moment. We have levels of hatred and racism like you wouldn't believe, even after all this, universal, consciousness that Black Lives Matter and so on, and they're hating on a minority group in America right now and shooting them, because they think they're responsible for COVID. I mean, it's ridiculous.
So that they're blaming. Would you think? Again, going to a course in miracles, because like if I think that Bruce Whittingham, correct?
Yes.
Bruce Whittingham has this life with 4 daughters.
Yes.
And he's caused trauma, or he's done this, or he's done that. He's to blame. He's this chiropractor. Create a story.
Yeah.
And then blame you for it. Like the world really teaches division.
Yep.
So it teaches that we're separate. It teaches sickness, ailments, poverty, everything that is not real,
Yes.
which you're talking about, the media teaching what's not real.
Yep.
And then what they do not teach is actually the reality. So you're looking for the reality.
Exactly.
So if I come to Bruce Whittingham and I say, Bruce Whittingham is not at fault for anything, that's end of story. Like that, it's just literally, you're perfect, you're a divine being, and you're here in this position as this is just my way of seeing it, you're here in this position as, this is your joy, you're fulfilling these 4 things that you told me at the beginning.
Yes.
And you're not at fault for anything.
And that's so true. I mean, imagine an alien would have come to Earth right now, and they would look at our news feeds and everything else.
Yeah.
They would think most people are awful.
Of course.
Now, in my experience, and I see a lot of people, in my experience, I'd say 99.9% of people actually are wonderful, and they all share a common goal of wanting to thrive and help others. No one that I've really met really wants to harm other people. They might harm other people by doing things that are maybe more focused on themselves than the people around them, but that's not necessarily their initial intention.
No.
Yeah, if you're an alien coming in, you'd think that the human race is just the worst race or worst species ever around. But it's because fear creates action. Okay, you can control people through fear. Look at the church.
Yeah.
Okay, use fear, and health doesn't create money like sickness does.
No.
So have you heard about Rockefeller and how his involvement in what we now call healthcare, or what I call sick care, how that all came about?
Well, I know about this much about Rockefeller.
Yeah.
I know that they got into music, and they want to. It's like a domination of, it's an era. I look at it like an era. These people that live in era want to dominate.
100%.
In era.
Dominate.
Yeah.
So he was an oil magnate. I mean, he owned 95% of oil production back in I think it was like the early 1900s. He owned, if you look at his oil company's been split up now.
Yeah.
And it's all the top companies. I mean, he was America's first billionaire. Okay, and this is when people were still earning, $1 a week kind of thing.
Wow.
So he then realized that from oil, you can make petrochemicals.
Yep.
And petrochemicals can be used in medicines. So
Right.
all of a sudden, he had another massive market which he could dominate and control and make profit from. His motivation was not pure. His motivation was purely about money. So he would be in that 0.1% of people. Not that I ever met him, but he would be in that 0.1% of people, because what he then did is he set up. He basically infiltrated the universities, so he could then control the teaching. See, doctors, nurses, they go into their professions wanting to help people. They have hearts of gold. They devote their lives to helping people. But the system they're taught is so controlled, and it's so laid out that you have to do it this way, that even their rules and regulations. In Australia, for instance, if you're a GP and you know that high-dose vitamin C injections are good for people with cancer, if you prescribe that as a registered medical doctor, you'll be struck off, because you're only allowed to prescribe radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and surgery.
So you can't do vitamin C?
Not as a registered doctor. You're not allowed to do anything outside the box, and it's all regulated, very strictly regulated. Okay, so and there are some doctors that have pushed the boundaries and whatever, and they've got into quite hot water. But the mainstream is very, very regulated, and it's regulated. And it started off with Rockefeller, and he was behind the debunking of herbal medicines and all the remedies that we've been using from nature up to that point, because there was no money in it for him. He was getting rid of the competition. And even chiropractic came under that thing, because the osteopaths in America joined with the medical association. The chiropractors never did. So they had a target on their back from the beginning.
Okay, I see. Yeah.
Because they didn't want to join. But that system was based on finance, and they're using petrochemicals to treat diseases.
Where that's just, it's like he's got this source of oil. He's like, what other market can I get into where I can control?
And so that's how our current sick care society has become so this side of things, very symptom based and that's why there is so much. I believe there's so much sickness in the world, because those petrochemicals are not just in our medicines; they're in our food, they're in our water, they're everywhere. Even New Zealand at the moment, look at it. Over 90% of the rivers in New Zealand are polluted, and they've managed to link it back to the phosphates the dairy farmers are using to basically grow the grass so they can feed the cows.
Mm-hmm.
And so the indigenous people in New Zealand are up in arms, and they're trying to take control of their waterways again. And the main guy from the farming association said, well, look, we're in New Zealand. Do we want produce or not? He said that out loud on radio.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm like, really? What is this guy a complete boomer? I mean, you can't be doing that. To the. I mean, New Zealand's the most pure environment.
Yeah.
And they know what it's from, and he still doesn't want to admit it. He doesn't want to change his actions.
So, what do you, from what you can do?
Yes.
And not only you as a chiro, but every other chiro out there, like if you've got a message, that's going to the world, and if you could really solve it, because you know the answer, how would you do it?
Well, like with healing happens from the inside out.
Yeah.
So first of all, I've got to work on me.
Okay.
I've got to try and set as good an example as I can.
Okay.
So then my kids have got a good example that they can do on, and then I work on the circle of influence. So once people come in and they understand that their nervous system controls their body, you can then start saying, well, how about this? How about this?
Okay.
And each person that leaves here then has the ability to share that with other people. And so you increase the sphere of influence, because unfortunately our media is so controlled. There's a lot of things that I can't say on social media, even my personal social media page. If APRA see me commenting on it, they can come after me professionally. So we're very, very controlled with social media, okay? And I think most people understand that now. So I think that the only way to move forward is to just be really, enthusiastic about what you do what you do with the greatest of intentions, and share it to as many people as possible, which is why I agreed to do this interview.
Yeah, brilliant.
If we can share it with more people, then that's how we're going to do it, because we will reach a universal consciousness at some point. Hopefully I'll see it in my lifetime. Okay.
You will.
We'll reach that at some point. Unfortunately, there's probably going to have to be a lot of discomfort and unrest for people to realize they have to change for us to get to that point. Because at the moment, most of us are so comfortable, certainly in this country, we're so comfortable. And while the government's handing us out money, we're so comfortable. Why would we need to change? But when we reach a point where it's not comfortable anymore, then we'll change and hopefully we'll come together.
I've got an experience for you. So, like, listening to what you're saying there, so the division between people, where one's right, one's wrong. I really truly believe in truth is truth, and error will be, once you put light into a dark room, that light will scatter.
Yeah.
So the real power, the real truth is you doing what you're doing here, and then you create this light globe in you, like this light in you. You're then touching that person goes, I now have that. I'm just going to say it, the presence of the Holy Spirit, because nothing in the Holy Spirit, nothing in God, nothing in truth can lie. So you've taken your truth that you know is true in you.
Yes.
You've then placed your hands on someone else. It's like someone touching Christ's hem of his garment. You've healed them and gone, wake up, you're in heaven, you never left heaven. You're not sick, you're well, and everything that you've believed in error, which is 50% of most people's lives in their memory.
At least.
So you've gone, this is the truth, I am the truth, I am the way. So really you are healing like Christ. The truth then touches them, they go out into the world with the truth, and it's like another light.
Exactly right.
And you're just creating these lights that are just spreading all over the world.
That's the goal.
Yeah.
So I think it just reminded me of a story. So Deepak Chopra, I went to a seminar. He was very, very early in his career. We went to watch him in Melbourne, and he was awesome. And he talked about a hologram.
Yep.
So if you have a holographic picture, if you smash it, it breaks into hundreds of pieces. When you pick up an individual piece, you don't just see the bit of the hologram that it came from. You actually see the entire hologram, but it's just very blurred because it's so small. As humans, I think we're all tiny pieces of the bigger picture. And when we come together, the picture will become clear. But the world, unfortunately, at the moment is run by, I think it's either 6 or 7 very influential families.
Really?
And they don't want us to come together. They want to create divide. They want to create right and wrong. Because the more we come together, the more we'll form that clearer, bigger picture.
Yeah.
Okay?
And then we'll know who we are.
Exactly right. That's why in China they don't like the Christian church, because they don't like big gatherings. Because the more they understand, the more people that gather together, the more of a threat they are. Okay? So they want this division to keep us apart, so we don't get to see that picture, because we're just a tiny piece of the whole. But the more we come together, the more we'll get that. And that's what I was hoping the internet was going to be.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, a bit like Pandora's box, it promised so much, and it's gone very pear-shaped because it's so controlled now.
Do you know what's funny? When you spoke to me earlier, and not discounting what you just said, I'm just off that thread, what you said to me earlier in our first meeting when you agreed to do the
Yeah.
interview, you said it's amazing how two people can have completely different ideas of reality.
Yes.
So in my reality, I have this 10,000 reassurance, like this feeling of belief that just one light
Go on in.
can completely.
Hello.
Hey, Dr. Bruce, I've got Kerry and Mountain from Justin.
Oh, okay. All right, fantastic. I'll be 2 ticks.
Thank you.
Sorry, didn't know.
Just to wrap it up.
Sorry about that.
That's all right. It's still going. Just to wrap it up, but like I have this conviction, belief that is so strong that like just you talk to those people. You've called me and I've called you in. God's gone, right now, Merrick, you're not going to be a chiropractor. You're going to be the best podcaster you can be with truth. You're going to get the truth out there. I feel like there's nothing that can stop me.
Yep.
There's nothing that can stop you as long as we come from that true source of reality, which is truth in God. We never left perfection. We're here on a mission for those that are sick in error, living in error. And the light is shone upon the darkness.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
And now we're getting that critical mass where we're like, yep, two people find each other in truth. You've got a nail at the top of a letter, nail at the top of a letter or, post. It's not going to move anywhere. So I believe that truly, like this will be an amazing thing that's going to help so many people because they'll see it.
Yeah.
It'll be huge. And
I think that the biggest thing that for it to really have impact and power is not what we do when things are going well, but what happens when we get a kick in the guts, which happens because when you're not in the mainstream, people would rather bring you down so that they can feel comfortable where they are. And it happens sometimes on a small scale, small comment, and sometimes on a big scale.
Yep.
But all it does for me whenever I see that stuff or hear that stuff is it just lights the fire even more.
Yep.
Because it makes me realise just how important it is that we keep doing what we're doing.
Okay.
So keep that fire bright, burning bright.
It's so beautiful. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, Bruce.
Okay. I was so excited when you said you were going into chiropractic because speech is one aspect of communicating, but touch is
another one.
hugely powerful.
Okay.
So physical touch. And physical touch, I mean, look, social distancing.
Well, exactly.
That's another
Just
good way of stopping
way.
us from getting together.
Yeah, right.
But touch is so important. As humans, we need touch
Yeah, we do.
from other people.
Exactly.
We can pat ourselves on the back too, but from other people, it's even
It
better.
doesn't seem to do
It's
much,
not.
does it?
No, exactly.
I love myself. You're amazing. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, America.
You too.